Keynote presenter for today. This is Nick Bracks. Nick has a wealth of experience as an advocate for mental health, including being an ambassador for Headspace. He's also an experienced entrepreneur and has done a lot of ventures within small business and startups as well, including a social enterprise around wellness and self-development. So please welcome Nick Bracks.
Okay. Well, thank you for the introduction. I've been asked to come here today to talk about my journey as an entrepreneur and also about mental health awareness, which is an area I've been working in for 6 or 7 years now. And I got involved in that area after suffering from depression myself and having to go through a really hard time for a long time. And I sort of learned through mistakes that I made and through trial and error about how to get my life back on track, and it was a big journey, and I'll give you a story about that. But really, for giving advice on my journey as an entrepreneur, I've only really been able to find, again through trial and error, what I wanted to do, and that only came about by really having to confront a lot of issues and learn about myself and learn what I was actually passionate about before I could then go and find the relevant area to work in and have that passion in the day-to-day work. Because originally it was more about just finding opportunities and looking at where I thought I could potentially have success in, but there was no actual drive or passion for that area. And ultimately it didn't bring me satisfaction and didn't bring I didn't commit because of as much as I could have for those reasons, and didn't get the results that I could have. And so my biggest lesson through all of that has been to really identify what drives you and what you care about and what your core values are first, before even worrying about going down that path of entrepreneurial endeavours or whatever it is that you're looking into. But to give you a personal story about myself, I grew up a very, very shy kid, and I guess I identified myself through sport. That was really my thing. And I competed at a really high level until I was 18. I originally played football, and then I was quite obsessive about the fitness side of it, and just because I put so much pressure on myself, and I've always been very had that obsessive mindset. It was really channeled into sport, and I got so fit that I started winning all of the middle distance running races in school, and that led to me competing at a national level and really just channeling all my drive into that, until I was almost 18 and had a really bad knee injury and had to stop. I just run myself into the ground, and it was the first sign of having these mental health issues. I was, like I said, I was obsessive about it. I was getting up at 3, 4 in the morning, training for 3 or 4 hours before school, going again after school, and hiding all of this information from my mum and from everyone else, and stunted my growth, stunted my development, and it brought on a whole lot of problems that came about after I finished at school. I was able to, like I said, hide from these problems while it was happening, and I was socially isolated and didn't develop these social skills during school because I was channeling it all through sport, and that was what I was known for. It was Nick's this guy that just does really well in different sports, and I didn't have to. I could avoid the other side of avoid developing myself in that other side. So when that all happened, I finished up at school. I couldn't do the one thing that I really loved and valued and identified myself through, and then I was just left out in the world with no real social skills and no idea of who I was or what I cared about. And that led to about 3.5, almost 4 years of me just being completely lost. I'd gone and taken a gap year. I'd come back and deferred from university. I started this course, and after about, I think it was 3.5 or 4 weeks, I dropped out of the course because I just couldn't, I just really didn't care about being there, and I didn't know what I wanted, and I was just, like I said, just completely lost and just felt like nothing really mattered to me, and that only compounded as time went on, and I went through a long period of just going out and abusing alcohol and using any outlet I could to distract myself from the problem, and it would give me a quick fix and sort of give me that release that I wanted in the time, and I'd feel free, but then it would only make it worse the next day, and it just went on and on and on, and really did get to the point where I just felt like I had nothing I cared about. I felt like there was no future because I couldn't do this one thing that I felt like was my world, becoming a professional athlete. Because when that was taken away, I felt like there was no chance of me ever having a future or being happy again. And it did get, it got really, really bad. I got to a point where it had been a year and a half of doing nothing, of completely isolating myself socially, not even seeing friends anymore, not being able to get out of bed. I'd always been an early riser, but I wouldn't get out of bed till 4 or 5 in the afternoon because I'd just be sitting there just wanting the day to pass so it could be night time again and I could get through the day and get to Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, where I would basically just go out and get as drunk as I could and get in really bad situations and just use that to escape. And it peaked there was a point where I'd been out on a Thursday night and I was out with my friends. We'd come back to the family home and the parents were away, and I, in the drunken state I was, decided to take the car out for a drive with my best friend lying in the back seat, and I was going along the main road in Williamstown, and I guess in the state I was in, I wasn't thinking clearly and realised that I was driving while highly intoxicated. I was going about 80 kilometres an hour and made a split decision that I needed to turn home. So I went to turn while I was going 80 kilometres an hour and hit a traffic island, and the car spun out of control and wrapped around a tree. And the side that my friend was actually lying across on was the side that his head was facing. So fortunately, his reflex action was to just jolt up, and if he hadn't done that, his head would have been crushed in and he would have been killed instantly. And when the police turned up to the site, they said that they had never seen an accident that severe where anyone had come out alive. And it happened while my father was quite a well-known politician, and it was all over the news, and I had to call him up and tell him what had happened, and trying to deal with that as well while I was going through all of these problems. And it was a really, really tough time, a really difficult time. And I remember when all of that happened, I had said to myself, this has to change. I'm going to change it. This is just too much. I'm going to end up killing myself. I'm going to ruin my life. I'm going to do something. And I spent 2 weeks where I stopped going out, and I didn't know what I was going to do, but I was determined I was going to make a change and get my life back on track. But after that 2 weeks passed, I very quickly went back into that same path of going out and drinking and isolating myself and doing all of the same habits because I didn't know what was wrong with me. I didn't know I was depressed. I didn't want to confront the issue, and I was confused. So it really got to the point where something as simple as getting out of bed to go and clean the dishes just sounded too much. I was almost catatonic at the time, and my mum she had tried and tried and tried, and she eventually had to literally just drag me to see a psychologist. And I went against my will, but at the end of that first session, I actually felt a bit of relief because she had told me, look, you're severely depressed, Nick, and this is a common thing and there's a way to work through this. And that was a shock for me. I didn't know anything about it. I saw that as a sign of weakness. But when I got home that night, it actually turned into a bit of relief because I started thinking, well, this is actually kind of good. Like there's a way to work through this, and we can, there is a little bit of hope. And I got working with this psychologist and really started identifying different issues, and I opened up to, which was one of the most traumatic things I'd ever done, just talking to my best friend about what I had been going through and telling her, look, I'm seeing a psychologist, I've been suffering depression, this is why I've been behaving this way. And I was trembling telling her. But her reaction was just so positive, and she was so supportive, and she was there for me through this whole period, and eventually it led to me talking to other people and then going and doing work that I do today, raising awareness about it. But I just remember how much of a stigma I felt around it, and how much it really needs to become the same kind of thing that if you break your arm, you go and see a doctor. If you have a problem in your mind, you go and see a psychologist to get help. It's really, everyone has different problems, and there shouldn't be any stigma at all, which it is getting better, but it was my first sort of learning experience around that. But through working through these issues, I enrolled in another course, which was actually an entrepreneurship course at RMIT, and that was what I'd sort of decided I was interested in doing, seeing I couldn't go down the sporting side. And I got into this course and found out in the first, I think 2 weeks before, I found out that in that first semester we had to do, I think it was 10 or 15 oral presentations. And it was only in front of maybe 10 people. But because I was so shy and dealing with all of these different issues, to me that was the most traumatic thing in the world. I was trying to pull out of the course. I couldn't sleep for 2 weeks. I was talking to the course counsellor. I was doing everything I could do to just get out of doing this. And it was only because I had my friend, my mum, the psychologist, all really, willing me on to just get through it, because it was just more about just doing something and taking a step to just get my life back on track. And they knew as well as I did that if I didn't, it could, really turn into something pretty severe, because I was it was going that way. So I ended up getting through these talks, and I'd written down what I was going to say on a sheet of paper, and I was sitting there, I'd be trembling and sort of reading word for word, and I don't think anyone understood a thing that I said, but I got through it. And then I got through that first year, and then I finished that course, and through that 3-year period, I really learnt a lot about myself, and I learnt that I could, try different things and learn different skills and overcome fears that I thought I couldn't overcome. And I'd made a whole new group of friends that I had more in common with, and it really set me on a path where I was able to use that same experience for many different situations. And it was actually not long after that I got asked to go on a reality show called Dancing with the Stars, and you have to go and dance on live television, and there's a big audience there watching it, and I wouldn't even dance if I went out with a group of friends. So again, to me, this was, after the public speaking, this was now actually even more of a traumatic thing and more crazy. I couldn't imagine it, but I drew on that same experience, and I thought, you know what, it's something pretty unique. I had just started getting involved in mental health awareness, and the big part of being involved in that show was I was able to raise awareness for Beyond Blue at the time, who I was working with. And I guess the competitive side wanted, the challenge. So again, I committed to doing it. I think about 4 or 5 weeks before it started, I started freaking out again, and I was calling the producers, and I was complaining I couldn't sleep, I was stressed, and I was about to pull out. But then I drew on the previous experience, and I thought, you know what, I might not be any good at this, which hopefully none of you saw it, but I was pretty bad. Probably the worst ever on that show. But I realised it's not about that. It's about actually trying something different and proving to yourself that you can do different things, and you don't have to. It doesn't really matter, what your level of, what your skill set is, or where you come from. Everyone, even the people that are the most competent at something, have to start somewhere. And I drew on all of that, and again faced a massive fear, and actually got through that first show and ended up staying on there for a while. And the big thing I did take away from it was just that you can go and do anything, and no one can tell you that you can't do something. And everyone, even if you're starting at the bottom, you can learn different things. And that all sort of set a foundation, which I've lived my life by since then, of just following my core values and following my heart in doing what I really care about doing. And I guess that's the point I was making about in entrepreneurial endeavours, really finding yourself first. And through all of that, and I had tried and sort of failed at some business and had moderate success in, but really never had the passion for it. And it was only because I kept working in this mental health area and was started doing more awareness work and more talks, that I just found this massive passion for that area. And that I realised then that was the area I wanted to be involved in business, and now it is. So that was the big lesson I learned, as an entrepreneur, just to because there's so many ups and downs and so many obstacles, and it's never going to be an easy ride. And even if you do have success, it's probably going to take a long time. And if you can't enjoy the day-to-day of what you're doing, even if you do have massive success, really, what's the point? Because we only really have right now to enjoy what we're doing. So I took all of those lessons and got involved in the business I'm now just launching, which is called Happy Waves, which Boyd over here is one of my business partners in. And this is all around mental health. So it's a mental health mindfulness platform, I guess in the most simple, it's still in testing, so you can download it, but in the most simple terms, it's like a Netflix for your mind. So we work with all of the best Australian teachers around that work in the area of mindfulness, meditation, self-improvement, and we develop tailored courses with these specific teachers around their area of expertise. So there's a catalogue of different courses. it'd be awesome if everyone in this room, you can download it right now, and there's a free course on anxiety. I'd love everyone to try that out, because we are looking for feedback, and it is a really good course and it's free. And just to get some feedback, and if you do like it, once this does launch in mid-August, we have workplace courses, plus a whole range. We've got a catalogue we've probably got about 50 hours of content on this, but really it's the other, I guess, the other factor that differentiates us from other products is that it's all curated content. So every month we bring on new teachers and new courses, and it's always changing and adaptive to what people want. So really, we've identified that from myself, Boyd, and the other partner who's not here, Davis, have all been involved in the area of mental health and wellness for a long time. We have a big passion for that area, and we've really looked at what other products are out there, and there's some quality products, but there's also a lot of information and a lack of, it's hard to really decipher between what's quality and what's not sometimes. So we've made a point of making sure that we just work with the best teachers and always bring on new teachers and make sure that it really is just showcasing the best quality information that's out there, which no other platform is currently really has even done. So that's what Happy Waves is, and that's my talk. I think I'm probably out of time, but thank you for listening. And I don't know if I'm meant to do questions or not, but
We've got 5 minutes.
5 minutes, questions, yeah. Cool. Awesome.
Do you feel that teenagers, instead of channel the energy into activities such as sport or partying and so on, they should be developing skills such as public speaking or entrepreneurialism and so on?
Yeah, massively. I think they should be. I think a lot of energy is channeled probably into things like partying or things they might not necessarily love doing. But I know that's what I went through, and doing, using different things as an outlet rather than, because they haven't been taught, better thinking habits, and we don't formally get taught that. And with this platform, we are also running school programs, which we're really passionate about, because I think it's just so important that we get taught about resilience and self-awareness and all of these different things that, myself and probably most people in this room have had to learn through trial and error. And, the sooner we can learn that and the more that can become, a thing in society, the more people are going to be able to live by their values and know what their values are and find, more healthy outlets to whether it is public speaking or whatever it is, be able to lean towards that more early on rather than going, down different paths that don't make them happy.
I have a question.
Yep.
So are the premises of your app quite similar to Smiling Mind in the trying to provide meditation?
To a degree, yeah. So Smiling Mind, Headspace, there's other apps out there that are all have a similar format in voice recording. The key difference for us is that these other platforms all have one person voicing their content, and there's not a huge variation between what they offer. We're working with a range of different teachers, and we can bring on as many teachers as we choose to. So really it's finding specialist teachers in different areas. So for this anxiety course, the teacher that's running that course, he's worked in that area for his whole life. That's his passion, that's what he cares about, teaching people around more than anything else, and he has a wealth of knowledge. And then we'll have another teacher who specialises in relationships, and that's what she has spent her life acquiring knowledge in. So it's really giving people, because I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all in this area, so it's making sure that we give people just the best of the best. And we're not saying we know everything. We know a lot about this space and we care about it, but these teachers are the ones who have spent their lives, and their day-to-day job is to teach this information. So we're just saying to them, we want to tap into your knowledge and produce content based around what you have found to be the most important topics. And we can.
You watch the course?
It's all voice recordings at the moment.
Okay,
Yep. So the same format. So you'll go on there, and you would see our catalogue of teachers and the different courses, and there'll be course by course you'll see the different topics, and you sort of walk through it step by step. So it's really an educational platform, which you'll see if you want to download it. Yeah.
Nick, what's the cost of what will be the cost?
What will be the cost? If you sign up for a year, it's about $12.95 per month. But for corporate programs, it can be you can get a tax rebate, so it makes it about half price. So we've been approved through to give a rebate as well. So, and there's other incentives as well for corporate accounts. There's a slight discount, and it's all through at the moment for the initial launch. It'll be all through Apple, and the advantage of that is we've tried to just make it as easy as possible for a company to sign up. So all a company needs to do is sign up to an Apple iTunes account and purchase however many copies they want for employees, and then automatically they will get a discount and they're eligible for a rebate. And it can be so it can be set up in a matter of minutes. Really, it's really we've made it as efficient as we can.
Would that corporate rate sit for school environments as well? For
school environments as well, the school it'll be the same system at the moment. Yeah. We've tried to really just make it as simple as possible to begin with. And the idea as well is, because there are a whole range, there's actually an interface on the app where it turns it into a kid-friendly platform with all these little cartoons and different things. The idea is that we can have kids using it, and also it can integrate with the family, so the parents could be doing different courses, and sort of it sparks a conversation as well, and they can all be tracking the progress. For kids? Kids is primary school, so from beginning of primary school till the end. So yeah, really early, which I think again we're really passionate about trying to. Which there is a little bit of a movement in that area, but it's only just beginning, and we're really passionate about trying to really push early stage learning for this area. I think it's so critical. Yep.
How do we get you to come out to a school?
Send me an email. I'll give you a card after, and we'd be happy to come out and have a chat about it. That'd be great. Yeah. So if you come up to me after, I'll give you a card. And yeah, great.
All right. Well, thanks very much, Nick.
Thank you.
So as mentioned before, we're filming all presentations across all our events, so you can access all our keynotes on the ACS website. So Nick has a profile on the ACS website that has more information about himself and Happy Waves. And there's also an inquiry form on there as well, so another easy way to access to get in touch with you if you've got any inquiries or want to speak to you about coming to a school or something like that. So yeah, thanks very much.
Okay, thank you.
Great, so we're going to